Welcome back to Everyday Enchantment, where I am with my co host, Kelly Backert. We did a very thorough podcast, three-part series. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's called Heal Your Relationship with Food, but it's really about health and wellness and how to start a new year in a very different place than the way that the diet industry wants us to do it. And we put on that series that we were going to take lots of questions and provide lots of answers to whatever came forward. And that's what we're doing today. So, welcome, Kelly Backert.
Hi.
You ready to dive in?
Mm-hmm.
All right. First question we received, and again, we will not call out anybody, but I'm sure if you're listening, you're going to know your question. What workouts do you recommend at different ages, and how much exercise do you recommend? So I think it's like this question of like when you're maybe 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, 70, do exercise routines, should they vary and how much and all those good stuff?
I'd say do what you like to do. It's super
Ooh,
simple. Do what
I
you like to
like
do.
it.
It's the
I
first and
like
foremost thing. Do what you enjoy doing. If you want to ride a bike, ride a bike. If you want to go for a walk, go for a walk. If you want to lift
yeah,
weights, lift weights. If you want to do, that's the first thing. It's
yeah.
it's the because it's the thing that's then you're going to keep doing it. You're going to be consistent because the main thing with workouts is consistency. And I'll say that I'll probably be saying that about 10 more times on this podcast. Consistency.
Yeah,
Consistency. So what are you going to do consistently? You're going to do what you like to do.
that's
So
really true.
finding what you like doing, and some people that are listening to this will be like, I don't like exercising at all. Um,
Yeah.
and
What
that's
do
okay.
you
So
say
just
to that?
find a way to move your body. And it could just be walking. But
Mhm.
and I would recommend I would sometimes I used to say things like, "Oh, 3 or 4 times a week." I actually think you should move your body every day. Now that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm, like, bringing it down every single day and I'm busting my like, it's not
Right.
but I think you should do I think everybody should do some sort of movement, even
Mm.
if it's just like a walk around your house or something. Every single day, I think you should move your body.
I
So
have tell me what you think about this. I'm curious because I don't think we've ever talked about this. So years ago, somewhere I got this idea and I really liked it. This idea of like a baseline for me.
mm,
So what I can do for the rest of my life. Now, maybe it will change. It's not saying that I'm going to just stick to it, I hate it. However, I had this idea of like, what's the one thing that I can move my body that like I like to do and that it's just like my thing. And walking is my thing, as everybody knows. I generally walk 2, 3 times a day, which is a couple miles every day. Rain, snow, rain, sleet,
yeah.
you name it, we're out there, the dog and I. And I just find that like then that I always feel like that feels really good to me, to your point, while always doing some type of movement. It feels enjoyable to me. I don't feel like it's work. And then I add some other things in there along the way. Now, I don't know. I know you probably have an opinion about this too, but I think as I've gotten older, strength training has been more important to me in
Mhm.
my body. I mean, just as a natural women, going through some of the changes that my body's been going through, I think strength training is I'd never really valued it as much when I was younger. I was like cardio, cardio, cardio.
Yeah, that was a very 90s thing, though.
Right?
That was a very it goes in phases of what's being pushed. That was a
Mm,
very 90s thing because we had Suzanne Summers and the Thigh Master, and we
yeah.
had these pieces of equipment that they were trying to sell. That was the first
Okay.
time that we had the stair stepper, and so they were pushing cardio at that time because we had a lot of new things coming out. But
Interesting.
yeah, absolutely. I think the strength training for both men and women is imperative. I think you should do some kind of push pull movements, whether it's with bands, whether it's light weights, heavy weights. It really doesn't matter. I think everybody should be doing some form of resistance training. So you're going to do the cardio, the walking and stuff for your cardiovascular, but
Mm.
you for like muscle health and keeping your skeletal muscle and keeping your bones strong, you're going to want to do that resistance training. And again, you're going to want to find a form of doing that that works really well for you. I don't
Yeah.
have I don't have like I would have to talk to somebody individually if they had that specific question because we would want to design a program that works really well for them. And I guess what I would say to them also to answer this question is do find what works with best for you. Maybe
Mhm.
add in some cardio, add in some resistance training, but it doesn't need to look like anyone else's. So it doesn't
Mhm.
need to look like the Instagram person. It doesn't need to look like the person that you see on Facebook. It doesn't need to look like your spouse. It doesn't need to look like your best friend. It needs to look like you. It needs to
Yeah.
be designed about something that you can do consistently. You have to be able to do these things consistently to see the health results and to feel the energy and to feel good. And it doesn't yeah, so that's kind of how I think about it. I
I
think about
love that.
just like the food we just talked about it, if you guys have listened to the last podcast, is this idea of finding what works well for you. People don't like that answer because they want me to be specific. They want me to say
Mhm.
do this, do that, because they
Don't
think
do
that
this,
they
don't do
want the
that. Yeah,
program. They want a specific answer. I can't obviously I cannot give that in general, but
right.
I also, when I'm working with someone one-on-one, I help them design their own
Mhm.
program for their own needs. That's what I
Yeah.
love about being a trainer is like, we're going to work with you and what you like to do. And yes, I want you to incorporate the strength training. And yes, I want you to incorporate the cardio, but that looks different for, I mean, for everybody. So, and
I
if,
love this
yeah,
point. I didn't ever thought about it, Kelly, which is interesting because I think about lots of things randomly. I love this point because think about like the Peloton and this, right? Like COVID, like Peloton just took, and everybody was doing whatever. And it does, it becomes very much a trend. Like everybody else is doing it. I should do it. And I can remember like there are times where it's like, I really liked spin for a while. And then my body was like, it's just not feeling quite right. And I wanted something else. And so I think also, too, giving ourselves permission that whatever it is that we do like to do, if it changes over time, our bodies are changing constantly, that allowing ourselves to be like, oh, maybe I used to run. I don't enjoy running anymore. So it's like this idea of things being fluid and being open, not to the trends and being so influenced by them, but by being more influenced by your body, which again, none of us got trained to actually listen to our bodies. We got trained to
no.
like pay money to an expert. The expert knows better than we do. So this is a whole shift, not even just in wellness, but just lifestyle in general.
So, and you can hire people like me, or they can hire people like you to help be your guide, because there
Mhm.
are things that like I can recommend and I can
Sure.
help people with one-on-one. And I also think there is something to be said about I mean, obviously, I own 3 fitness studios. Like, there's something to be said about doing something in a group. I
Mhm.
like the energy of it. I like the
Good point.
community of it. I mean, I just thrive on it. I love it. And I think, and I feel like I've built a nice community of people. So it's helpful to me to have them there to make it more fun. And we have lots of like music and you're having fun. So, and maybe that's something that you're drawn to as well. Maybe you're just like, oh, I really, because I mean, I have so many clients right now. So it's some people are just like, God, I just like working with you one on one. Like this feels really good to me. We're doing this 2 or 3 times a week and I feel so much better. And then some people are like, I like the group setting. That really helps me too. And I've built a lot of friendships and things like that. Or then you could just be someone who just does things on their own as well. So you can kind of figure out who you are, and maybe there's a nice mix in there too. Maybe sometimes you feel like going to a class, sometimes you feel like working with a trainer. It's always changing and evolving. Not only you're changing and evolving, but like you said, what you like is changing and evolving, and it has for me too over time.
Mhm.
And I love what I do now, and it wouldn't have worked for me 5 years ago, and it may not work for me like, it may not work for me next year.
Yeah.
So you have to be okay with, that it can change, and you can decide to do something else too, but as long as you're consistently moving your body, um, who cares what it
Yeah.
looks like?
And that's a very different energy, what you're saying, than punishing, right? Like, I used to go to the gym and punish myself for what I ate or whatever the case may be. Like, that's a very different relationship when you're like, I'm moving my body because it feels good. And again, I always say whatever I'm doing now is paying it forward 5 years, 10 years from now. And so what can I do now to just take care of that future self as well too? You know what
Mhm.
I want to hit on, and it wasn't a question, but I definitely want to hit on it because you talk about community. So many times in my own experience, you go to the gym, especially in January and February, right? Everybody's at the gym. There's this pressure. Most gyms, to me, they kill the fun factor. Now, I like to be in community. I love to take a class with you, Cal. You have a whole different vibe.
Mhm.
But if you are at a gym where you are feeling like this is compare and despair, like, don't go to that gym.
Right.
There
Getting
are
out.
places, Kelly's one, where you built a community that's supportive and it's inclusive and you can be whatever size, wherever you are, it meets you where you are and the community meets you where you are, which I absolutely love. There's not all this shaming and judging, which I think goes along with a lot of that, like, beginning of the year, whatever energy that the gyms, are all like, well, yeah, now you have to atone for whatever it is you did.
Yeah, I just think,
Want to do that.
well, I mean, that's why I created I mean, I
Yeah,
opened up my own gym
absolutely.
because I felt uncomfortable at gyms. And
Yeah.
even though I've always been in pretty good shape. So it's interesting to me. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think we talked about this on the that last podcast we did.
Mhm.
If things don't make you feel good, like if you're following somebody on Instagram and they're making you feel bad, unfollow them. If you're
Yeah.
going to a gym or you're going to a space or you're talking to somebody about diet and exercise and that doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
we can take ourselves out of that when there's other um I think sometimes we think that there's um nothing else out there or
Mhm.
something. Like we get in this thing like, well, if I don't talk to them about this, or if I don't go to this gym, or if I don't do this, we have all of these judgments like we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be going to that gym, we should be doing this type of a workout, we should, and we have all these
Yeah.
shoulds behind it when none of those things are true. And outrunning and the whole outrunning eating and drinking absolutely does
Mhm.
not work. Like, it does not work.
But that is
You're either
definitely a
going to get
philosophy out
injured.
there, or a
You're either
behavior,
going to get
lifestyle.
you're gonna get injured,
Yeah.
or which I see constantly. You're
Mm.
either gonna get injured, or, it's just impossible to do because especially as we're getting older, it's in your 20s, it may have worked.
Mhm.
30s, you may like, when you're younger, that works a little. Like, you can go
Mhm.
out and run 6 miles, and then you feel like you can eat whatever you want. But
Mhm.
it doesn't work long term, and you're just grinding into your body. And
Yeah.
it's such an unhealthy way to do things that it's good to try to work with that mindset. And honestly, if you struggle with that mindset, working with someone like you or me would be extremely helpful.
Yeah. Because nothing's gonna change. The flavor of whatever workout or whatever you do is gonna just create the mindset is the thing that's leading whatever this behavior is. Yeah, it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's gonna be like the whole old saying, like, no pain, no gain. And it's like what we're saying. I mean, what your message is to me, what I hear over and over again, it's like rewire that. Whatever that is not the best way to take care of your body.
It will never work in the long run.
No, and you're
It
gonna cause
won't
yourself
work.
lots of pain, and why and we don't have to. You can be effective. That's the message to me that you've taught me. It's like you can be very, very effective and very impactful and do it in a way that partners with your body rather than treats it like you're at
Well,
war with
you're
your
in a compulsive state because what you're doing is you're overeating, over drinking, over exercising.
body.
So if we start to heal ourselves, we
Mhm,
won't overeat, we won't overdrink, and we won't have to over exercise. Like, it
mhm.
all goes hand in hand. It's a couple.
Yeah,
So you won't have to overdo anything because you'll already feel like you're enough, and
perfect.
you'll already feel like you're doing enough. You'll have
Yep.
moments where you don't feel like that. We all do. We have that with our work. We have that with we're not doing enough for our kids. We aren't doing enough for our spouse. We aren't doing enough for our friendships. Like, we all have those things and those thoughts. And you can take a breath and then kind of reorchestrate. Hey, am I am I really doing enough? Or maybe I'm not. And what can I do to adjust that? But you're gonna have to do it from a place of, instead of a place like white knuckling it,
Yeah.
okay? There's
And the belief and recognizing that the belief that we're not enough is a belief, like, is something we've been conditioned to
Yeah.
believe, and that is actually the problem versus, what usually whatever it is. Even if you wanna tweak something, that's not actually a problem. But yeah, we've been so conditioned to to believe
Oh,
that.
it's every day. I mean, you're getting bombarded by messages that say, I mean, even if you were completely off social media, which is its own terribleness of telling you you're not enough, even just a commercial on TV is like, you should wear this makeup, you should do this skin product, you should do this workout, you should do NutriFast, you should do like or
Yeah.
Nutrisystem, you should do like it's constantly telling us you should have this color hair, you should have this color car, you should have like we're not like you should look your house should look like this, your kitchen should look like if you're any show we're watching or any commercial we're seeing is this constant reminder like you aren't doing enough, you aren't enough.
Yeah.
And so we're in this perpetual race of trying to do that, but um instead of running our own race, so to speak, and
Yeah.
finding
Ooh, run
you
your
know,
own race. I like that.
yeah, I feel so I didn't realize I just have to say this because when people are listening to this, I think sometimes it sounds very like out there and you feel like I know if I had been listening to this maybe 15, 16, 17 years ago, I would have thought that there was no way in hell that I could get to this place of ease, but still
Mhm.
being at a really healthy weight and still being healthy and exercising and eating. So I don't think I ever thought I could get there. I think I thought that that was a pipe dream, and like I would have thought that we were just talking about other people. Like
Mhm.
you guys can do that, but I can't
Mhm.
do that. And but the truth is that you can, and but it does take some it does take I don't want to say work, but it does take some work and it does take some I think it takes working with somebody like you or me to because
Yeah.
we need to change because it's a mindset change. It's
Yeah,
not
you're
I'm
in
not
it. It's hard
talking
to read the label on the outside when you're in the jar, as one of my
and it can
clients
be
used to tell
so
me.
helpful to work with somebody. Yeah.
It is, make it easier. I say make it's way more fun and it's way easier to do it when
Yeah,
you have
it
somebody.
is.
So there's a question that's kind of related to the one that we just answered, Kelly, around are there bad workouts or bad workout equipment, or is anything better, something better than nothing? I mean, this kind of tails to what that first question was. What do you think about bad workouts,
Um,
bad
the
equipment?
only bad workout is the one that is like breaking you down and making like that you hate.
Yeah,
Like if you hate to run, you shouldn't run.
yeah,
Like, if something feels uncomfortable to you and not uncomfortable like, "Oh, that weight was heavy, I probably shouldn't lift it." I
right.
mean, come on, like there's a difference. But I'm not a big fan of like treadmills and things like that. I think
Mhm.
that they can cause a lot of injury. So
Mm.
if you are using those kind of equipment, I would just be careful. Like, I'm a big proponent of having proper shoes. Like everyone
Mhm.
knows this about
You
me.
are very much.
You have to have the right go to a
Yes,
running store, get fitted for the proper shoes.
yes.
It'll change your life.
It will.
So,
It absolutely will. And
yeah.
speaking of treadmills, when I used to punish myself and run on the treadmill every night, I broke my foot twice.
Yeah.
Actually, one time was a wild time in a tent or bouncy house. But anyway,
Oh,
it
yeah.
started out with
Yeah.
a treadmill.
I mean, that
I will
the
say that.
treadmill because I've only had 1 stress fracture in my life, and I got it from a treadmill.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of cautious about
Yeah.
treadmills. I prefer people go outside for that kind of stuff. But,
Mhm.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, that's okay. I'm not saying it's, like, bad necessarily, but
Yeah.
you should be careful of, like, putting it on an incline, and then you don't have the right shoes, and then you're
Mhm.
trying to, like, just
Yeah.
be mindful of your body when you're doing things like that, and I guess if there's other equipment, I guess I would say, like, silly, like, they don't have it out so much anymore, but, like, the shake weight,
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
they
yeah.
have, like,
All these
really kind of
crazy trendy
silly things,
things. Yeah.
and if it feels, like, silly to you, it's probably just, like, a gimmick,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily think there's any kind of bad workout equipment or bad workout. I just
Yeah.
think, make sure it's the right one for you, like, you and I don't run anymore, and
Yep.
you and I don't, like, I'm not gonna be jumping up on any boxes and, like, doing anything with, like,
Done
plyometrics.
that. I did that. Oh my gosh, and I'm short and jumping up on those things. Oh,
No, thanks. I never really
they were
did.
never my favorite anyway. All right,
No,
here's
no,
the
no, 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 you
next
gotta be careful.
question. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know you want to make some healthy changes, right? This year kind of comes, the new year comes around, you're ready. You feel completely overwhelmed and confused on how to get started. I love this question. How do you like take the first step? How do you kind of create some forward momentum for yourself? What do you do?
Hire a trainer.
Love it. Well, that's what I did. I mean, mhm.
That's the first thing you should do. All right.
Yeah.
I really actually think that. But second of all, I think that you should just start.
Yep.
There's no right or wrong way. We just discussed all of this.
Yep.
But you do have to pencil it in. Like again, it's part of taking care of yourself. So this idea of like, I don't have the time to do it. And then it's the same people that tell me that will be like, hey, did you watch that series on Netflix? And I'm like, did you do it on a
Those 5
treadmill? Like,
series on Netflix?
did you do it while walking around your house? Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, my
Yep.
point is
I
that
agree with
like,
your point.
if you can't find 20 or 30 minutes in your day to go for a walk, then maybe
Yeah.
you need to reorchestrate your life a little bit.
You know what I did? This worked really well for me when I kind of came when I was seriously overweight. I mean, really, and I wanted and needed to do something. I started with like the most baby step thing. So I would do the I think I don't know if I started on the treadmill, but I know I went to the elliptical and I couldn't do it very. I was like, the elliptical is so hard. Now it's like,
Yeah.
but at the time when you weigh 260, 270 pounds,
Mhm.
everything is a lot of work. So what I did was I was like 10 minutes. I was like,
Yeah.
and what I would do is I would tell this, I belonged to a gym back then, and I would say to myself, okay, again, baselines for me work. Baseline 10 minutes. If that's it, you're done, walk out. If you're really done, and then if you're not, or you're feeling like okay, maybe want to lift some weights or do something else, you can. But you give yourself permission, and you really like you're not trying to trick yourself into getting in there. There were times, sometimes I would drive to the gym, and I would be in the parking lot, and I'd be like, I do not feel. I am exhausted. I am tired, and I don't feel like it. And I would literally say to myself, okay, you're not going to go in today, or you're going to go in and do 5 minutes. And if you still feel that way, you're going to go home. And there were times I did. I didn't lie to myself. If I went in there and I still felt crappy, and then I was like, all right, you're done. Wrap it up for tonight. You need something different. This is not. This is not in your best interest. Now, back then, I was a little bit of what they call a gym rat. So I didn't always do that, but I generally did try to honor those things. And it did work for me, especially in the beginning when I was just getting started.
Yeah.
And I bought myself
I just think you
some
have
nice
to
workout
start.
clothes. Hey, that's another very superficial thing. But anytime I want to get excited about doing something, I love a new workout outfit, a top or whatever it is that get in my favorite color. It gets me excited. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to put it on.
Mhm.
Versus like I also have in my workout like wardrobe the stuff that's like, oh, I'll wear that to work out because I'm not wearing that anywhere else. And I think sometimes that's not the best approach to have because you want to have a positive, like, I want to feel good about it. And I want to feel like, again, it's not about looking a certain way for other people, but it's just like when I put this purple workout top on, I feel really energized and excited. And it makes me, want to do that. Music is the same way. I have 3 maybe workout playlists that I love. And it's like I pick the songs like one of the playlists is like when I really don't want to work out, like when I'm feeling like it's like the little extra, and
Yeah.
that really helps me. I mean, that those are little tips or tricks or hacks or whatever that I've
I
used
think
over.
most people think that they lack willpower, but I don't think most people can work out on their own. That's
Mm,
my opinion. I don't believe that they can.
what do you think?
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult. I
Mhm.
think it's very difficult to consistently exercise on your own. And I think people feel bad because I think they think everyone else can do it but them.
That's
And I
really
don't think that it's true. I think that that's why group fitness is so big. That's
Mhm,
why I own the studio. That's
mhm.
why personal training for me is like I believe that some people can.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people having that appointment or signing up for that class, especially in the beginning, I just think it's important. I
And if
think
a
it's
friend is
really
going
important.
with, I mean, hey, accountability, there's something to that. Like
And
I
just like it makes it more fun.
It does.
And
Then you
it's
get to see
somebody
somebody
saying,
you
"Hey,
like.
where
Yes.
were you on Friday?
Yeah.
Hey, why didn't you come to class on
We
Saturday?
missed
We miss
you.
seeing you."
Yeah.
Like, people love that. It's a sense
Yeah.
of community, and it's a sense of and you're doing something not only for yourself, but you're doing something because you don't like because, oh, that instructor is going to say something to me like, why wasn't I there? And they're going to miss
Mhm.
me and I'm going to miss them. Like there's just something about that that makes it a little bit more fun for a lot of
I
people,
agree.
because I think a lot of people are really hard on themselves that say, I don't have the self motivation like you. But I'm going to be honest with you. Although I am self motivated, I don't think that I'm that 45 minutes or that hour workout I probably would have made into a 20.
Yeah.
So it's helpful. It's
Yeah.
helpful. And maybe I wouldn't have done that many sets if there wasn't someone telling me to do that.
Mhm.
So I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful to have people, if you're very new to exercise, have people explain to you the right thing to do, because it
Yes.
can be super confusing. Like a lot of
Yes.
people don't know how to use a dumbbell. They don't know how to do a squat. They don't know how to those things. You know how to do them, and I
Yeah,
know how to do them.
but I learned excuse me, I learned the same way. I was in like I think it was like originally I took like a weight training group little
Yeah,
class program. Then I hired a trainer, right? Like I
yeah. You
absolutely
learn.
was like I needed to educate myself. I wanted somebody to look at my form. I wanted to do whatever it
Mhm.
was. Even if you can't, like let's say if somebody says, "Well, that's out of my budget right now." There's so much out on YouTube as well that's free,
Yes.
that's really good content. Find somebody you like. Like when I was doing wanted to do some yoga. I found somebody on YouTube that I liked. I liked her
Yep.
voice. I liked her format. It wasn't 3 hours. And you just start there and just like, again, I also think just from the life coaching perspective, rewarding yourself when you're starting a new habit, linking it to things that you're already doing. Like for me, the walk is like linked to like my morning routine, the evening walk, like everything's linked to things. Then you're not having
Mhm.
to put the energy. So if you know you're always going to a 9 o'clock workout class or whatever it is, you start to just link it to, oh, okay, I get up, I eat breakfast, I put my workout clothes on and I go to like it
Yes.
just becomes part of your
Right.
routine, and it's easier then to fold it in rather than I'm going to do this one way, and then it just kind of becomes a lot more energy for you to
Right.
convince yourself to do it. I don't know, those are things that have worked for me.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Okay, I like this one, and I'm curious. We didn't talk about any of the questions ahead of time.
No.
Can how you eat affect your mental health?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, 100%.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're gonna eat a bunch of processed food and sugar, you're gonna feel
Hmm.
like shit.
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, if I went over here and ate a bunch of sugar right now, I would be so messed up. Like,
Mhm.
first of all, I think I'd be sick. And
Yep.
second of all, I think, I'd be inflamed.
Yeah.
Think I would be nauseous. I think I would be anxious.
Hmm.
I know for me, certain foods make me anxious.
Yeah.
I've known that for a really long time. It'll literally make me anxious. So it's more of the processed foods, the sugars, things like that. Um, uh, so yeah, absolutely what you eat affects
And
your
I think, again, if you to me, and this is because I mean, almost everybody knows I've been off coffee, which I love, and I'm still broken. If I could put one thing back into my diet right now, I would put the coffee because I love the ritual of it. But what happened was when that started, it was just like an inkling. Like if you're listening to your body, if you're paying attention, I just started to like, oh, I was getting a little, I don't know if it started with acid reflux. I can't remember now. But basically I was starting to be like, this doesn't taste that good. It doesn't feel that good. And I just started to be like, okay, but I wanted it, right? So I kept doing it. And then I was like, this really does not feel good. And so to me, again, food is such an interactive, fluid process that, again, hopefully one day again, my body will be in a positive relationship with coffee, although I'm not going to do that if it's not. So I think it's a very much of like trust you coming in, trusting your intuition, really listening to what it is and noticing and paying attention, not just, I mean, this was in my 20s. I just jam food in, right? I was like hungry, jam food in. I remember how much fast food I used to eat with my first husband. Now I haven't eaten fast food in a year and a half because my body just is like, that's a hard no.
right.
Just is. And, and And so to me, it's like, and you've said this so many times, like, do I want to feel that? Like, to me, I want to choose to be in a much more, I don't know, feel good state with myself. And I think there's a lot of things I think that can affect our mental health, and food is definitely one of them.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna it affects everything. You can't, I think people think though, if they're listening to this, I think they think that like, okay, Kelly and Stacey want me to just go eat lettuce leaves and, first of all, your situation is much different than most people's
It's
because
true.
you're having some health stuff.
Yep.
Mine is by choice. Mine is by I don't eat certain foods because um they don't suit me.
Mhm.
And they don't make me feel good and I don't want to walk around inflamed and I don't want to walk around feeling sick and I don't want to walk around with brain fog and I don't want to walk like it's
Yeah.
all those things. So but that doesn't mean that you can't eat some of your favorite things. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you can't, you know, it doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't even mean that any foods have to be taken away. Like, it's not like I'm walking around like, I'm never going to be able to eat such and such again.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's what you're saying. I don't
No.
even think you're saying I'm never having coffee again as long as I
No.
live.
Just
Because
right now, today, it's a
you
no.
have a there's a different energy to that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I think it becomes you can go back right back into a diet mentality.
Mhm.
And I don't I that's not what this is. That's not what we're talking about. If the question was how can yeah, this eating affect was the question?
How you eat affect your mental health? Well,
100%.
and if you're eating like you're on a diet, let's talk about that, then that can
Yeah.
totally affect your mental health, right? Like, there's so many ways to
Or
interpret
if
that
you're
question.
overeating or
Yes,
if you're
'cause then you're in a
of
shame
course it does.
spiral.
Of course it
Yeah,
does. I mean,
yeah,
it all goes hand in hand. So absolutely the answer to that question is 100% yes.
yeah.
So yes.
And I think that, again, mental health and mental well-being is something we're just starting. Not you and I've been in the deep end for a while with this, but most people are just starting to pay maybe more attention to in terms of that. And I think that, again, there's so much inflaming us in the world around us. Again, like you were saying a few minutes ago about social, I mean, you just start to think about all the things we're digesting, not just literally digesting, that are inflaming our systems. And I just think that we're a culture that has access to almost everything we could possibly want in terms of food, and yet we don't feel. I'm not even talking about what we look like. I'm just saying, how do we actually feel? And it's interesting because usually what happens when people come in and work with me, and they're not coming to me to say, hey, I'm trying to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds. We're having fun doing other things. Clients usually say to me, almost every client says to me, oh my God, I lost weight coaching with you. And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, well, when you start paying attention, and again, to your point, it's not, hey, we're going no, well, first of all, no coach is saying don't do this and do this. If a coach is saying that, that's just advice giving. That's not
Right.
actually good coaching.
Right.
Coaching trusts that you're the expert and you know what's best, and helps to bring that out in you. And when you start to really do that for yourself, you're going to naturally gravitate to whatever feels good. And that could be a chocolate sundae. I mean, we're not saying, hey, don't eat those things. It's just a matter of it's this over, whatever you want to call it, that then is masking something else. When you deal with whatever's underneath it, then to me, your relationship with food changes like almost immediately. Your
100%.
relationship with your life, your whole life, maybe that's it. It's, of course, food is involved in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, you're healing when you heal your relationship with food and body, you're healing your relationship to yourself. I mean, that's what you're doing. So
Yeah.
everything changes and evolves along with that. So you're
Mhm.
dealing with these patterns, you're dealing with whenever I'm struggling with anything, it has nothing to do with food.
Right.
Like if I'm struggling with food, it has nothing to do with food.
Right.
It usually has something to do with how I'm feeling about myself, like I'm feeling like I'm not enough, or
Mm.
I feel like, I need a hug or I need more love, so I'm
Mm.
grabbing for something sweet, or I'm feeling really angry at somebody, so then I'm feeling like then I Like I'm reacting using food or using whatever. I have a handful of things that I like to use, but but yeah, it has nothing to do with food. A lot of us are perfectionists. So um that's when we want to do it a perfect way. Everything has to be a perfect way, and there's no such thing. And when
Yeah,
we start to heal our relationship with ourselves and some of that perfectionism, again, that all or nothing eating thing will change and evolve over time.
absolutely.
So
Well,
yeah,
then you're dealing with issues of like, to me, perfectionism sometimes is trauma response, nervous system, what feels safe. But
yeah,
you're right. Once you start to feel safe in your own body, then it does. It's a game changer.
yeah.
We could, that's a whole nother topic. We'll have to pin that, put another episode in.
That's
Okay.
good.
We have one last question, which is a very big question. So we will tackle it to the extent that we can tackle it here. And hold on a second because, okay, I was making sure I could read it correctly. What can I do? And I'm right in the throes of this. So this feels very timely for me. What can I do to prepare myself for perimenopause, menopause? A lot of the doctors out there, and this person is frustrated because saying like that just the doctors don't know, which I've completely experienced myself. And it's like supplements, lifestyle changes, what are we thinking? So I'll let you start
Well,
this, but I have a lot.
you can start.
You want me to start on this one? Okay.
Did you prepare yourself for I don't think you prepared yourself.
No, but this is what happened. Last year, I lost my gallbladder. My mother-in-law had an unexpected cancer diagnosis, and my body catapulted. It was already in perimenopause, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it just like, and I found it was funny. I was talking to my husband last night, and he was like, I said to him, there was actual research on gallbladder removal affecting hormones that could affect perimenopause. I mean, it's not like the first number one thing that happens, but it absolutely can. And so being in this the last almost a year now has been the rockiest experience for me. If you in my inner world, you know that. And here's what I've found: there is a group of doctors out there now. Actually, I found them on social media talking about this, about perimenopause and menopause in a way that, again, traditional doctors who got raised with, I can't remember, but one of my functional medicine people was telling me recently that like the menopause is like this little,
It
can
was
you
me that
imagine?
told you that.
Was
I
it you?
told you that.
Like
Yeah.
how was it you? Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought it was my
because I
functional
saw it on
person.
social media. I was following one of those people and they said she's a doctor and she
Mhm.
had to literally go back and educate herself on menopause because she basically said that she learned so
Like
little
this
and that
little.
doctors learn so little. Yeah.
And the Women's Health Initiative, which was, I can't remember when that was out, like whatever that big research study was, 2000, I think maybe 2006. Anyway, a lot of doctors got trained in that where they were very worried about cancer and those kinds of things. And now there's a lot more information, a lot more research and science. What I would say is number one, get yourself connected with the not, no, hold on, I pulled it up. The North American Menopause Society is really trying to help change what we're doing in terms of informing women and having conversations and having resources for women. So that's a really good place to start. And then I can list some of the doctors or people that I've been, again, you've got to find the people that resonate, but there
Mhm.
are women out there talking about this, female doctors that are actually going through it, that are testing supplements and making recommendations. I mean, and what their answer is, which is very much to like our answer for everything, is like each individual woman is going to go through it individual. Like what, there is no one size fits all. Here's how to prepare for menopause and perimenopause. It's your body's in like this big transition. It's interesting because the research I found is like a lot of the women in other countries that aren't eating the diet we are and having the lifestyle we aren't experiencing similar
They're not.
symptoms. So all
Right.
my vertigo, everything that I've experienced, again, most doctors are not, my doctor was not saying, oh yeah, that this is all related to menopause. Who was telling me this was you. You're like, Stace, this is all tied to menopause. And then I would dive into it and I would be like, hot damn, Kelly's right. The
Yeah.
vertigo, the migraines, everything. My hormones are in huge flux. So there are good supplements out or recommendations, but again, everything's trial and error. So I don't want to say, hey, do this or do that. But there's definitely things. And I think lifestyle wise to me, simplify has been, we need to cut away this kind of busy lifestyle, the stress, all this stress it adds to, it's like kind of putting us in a pressure cooker. So it's like spiritual practice, which you and I come back to all the time, is absolutely the cornerstone. And there's lots of research out there. Meditation, breath work, all these things really have a positive impact on how you navigate it. I would also say that sleep
Yeah,
hygiene,
you have to do the sleep, you have to get rid of the alcohol, and you have to get
yeah,
rid of the processed foods.
yeah.
Sorry,
Sleep
I just wanted to
hygiene.
lay it out there. You
No,
gotta
put
get
it.
rid of the alcohol.
Yep.
These same people that are telling me that, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say this
No,
out here, and I don't know if this has to do with anybody who asked this question, but I have a feeling that it would help a lot of people. Same
put it
people
out
that
there.
are talking to me about menopause and perimenopause are also the same people that are drinking a bottle of wine a night. You can't do
Mm,
that.
mm,
You can't do
yeah.
that. You're gonna need to, yeah, spiritual practice, but it's also gonna mean how is your sleep?
Yep.
What are you drinking and eating before bed? How
Yep.
soon are you drinking and eating that before bed?
Yes.
Our food
Yes.
supply is a problem. It's a problem in
Mhm.
America. It's a problem, okay? So you have to be your own advocate for that.
Yeah.
And
You
you
do.
have to be your own best advocate. You have to know this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right to me. You and I are very
Mhm.
good at that. Most people aren't. But you
Yeah.
have to become your own advocate. You have to seek out the people you listen to on social media.
Yep.
Seek out, you have to start to do your own research on the supplements that
Yep.
might work best for you.
Yes.
And then the lifestyle change is huge. You have to have, like, yes, there's a spiritual practice. Yes, there's a meditation. Yes, there's breath work. All those things are beautiful. You need to be getting enough sleep. You have to
You
have
do.
sleep. Sleep is imperative. You're not going to do anything without good sleep. You
It's
got to
true.
get rid of the alcohol. I believe that I believe that alcohol is a drug. I believe
Mhm.
that I do not believe in it. I've changed my mind about that. I used to be like, "Oh, sure, drink it once in a while." I
Mhm.
don't. I actually think that it's the most, I think people think about, like, talk about drugs, and I think it's the most heavily used drug in the United States. And I
Mhm.
think people use it to like, they use it like
Yeah.
and they use sugar that way as well.
Yeah.
So
Take the edge off, feel more comfortable in
it's all the
situations they
things, and
don't
I
want
think
to
it's
be.
become, I think it, for a lot of people, it's become a problem. That doesn't mean that I'm calling everyone an alcoholic. I'm
Yep.
just saying, if you're having issues sleeping, and you're having
Mhm.
issues with your weight, and you're having issues with your hormones and all those
Mm.
things, it's not going to help you to put toxins in your body. We're trying to eliminate the toxins from your
Yeah.
body. So the less that you have that, the clearer you're going to be. So you're going to
Yeah.
move your body. You're going to
Caffeine's the
breathe.
same way for me. Caffeine is
Yeah.
right in there with
No,
alcohol. At least right now it is. Yeah.
I can't do caffeine. I
Yeah.
can't do caffeine. I don't do
Yeah.
caffeine. I
And
can't do
I will say sugar and and also
Yeah.
chocolate. Like it's really been this like learning curve for me around what really, oh, if I eat that, first of all, if I eat later in the evening, it's like that's not good for the sleep hygiene. So I already eat kind of early anyway, but I really make sure I'm not a snacker. I never really was a huge snacker, but I don't generally snack because I know that's going to bother me
Yeah.
in 3 hours time.
It sounds funny
It's
because
not worth it.
I think to people that it sounds boring. Like,
Mm,
people will be like, "Oh, so you try to go to bed at the same time every
mhm,
night. You, like, move your body every day. You're not eating certain things. You're not drinking alcohol." It sounds
mhm.
like a boring life, and to me, it's just complete and utter bliss and freedom.
Yeah,
Because I have the free I because my head is clear.
yeah.
I'm making such sound and beautiful decisions. My trajectory of my life and my relationships are only going up because
Mhm.
I'm healthy and I'm
Yeah,
strong and I have a lot of energy, and people are responding to that energy. And I want everyone to have this. I want everybody. Everybody comes to me for this. I can't sleep. I'm overweight. I feel sluggish. I feel bad. And I always am like, we go back to, yes, spiritual practice, your breath work. Also, what are you drinking? What are you eating? What are you ingesting online? It's social media.
Mm,
Who are you surrounding yourself with? It's
mhm,
all of those things. Those are the things that can help you with the menopause and the perimenopause. I mean, they can't listen, they may not solve the problem,
mhm.
but they can make it easier and
Yeah,
make it better and make you more
absolutely.
clear-headed as your like it can't it make you more clear-headed to make sound decisions when it comes to your health and your own body.
Absolutely. I don't think the person that asked the question is a bottle of alcohol a night, but I get the thing about what you're saying.
Most people are
Yeah.
though. Most
Yeah.
people are most
I
people,
don't you know what's funny to me? And maybe again, just different I mean, you don't drink, I don't drink. A lot of the people in my inner circle, I mean, I have friends that drink, but there's a lot of people in my inner circle that don't anymore. And I
but
think again, you do get to a place where it's like to me it is freedom because it's choices. I can do what I want to do and it's just like but how do I want to feel? And
right.
I have complete control. Well, I would get maybe not complete control, but I have a lot of control over that.
Yeah, and
And like
people
you
will
said, it's
say
very
to me
blissful. It doesn't feel
people will
constraining.
say to me, like, they will adamantly be angry at me, first of all, for saying any of these things, but then they'll say, "Well, I think it's fine that I drink that 1 glass of or 2 or 3 glasses of wine every Friday night. I think that's fine," and they get very agitated, and
Mhm.
I say, "It's not that it's not fine, but you're telling me that you're not sleeping, or you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the
Mhm.
morning, or you feel bloated, or you feel inflamed, or you feel like, you're tired all the time, or you're lethargic, or you're struggling with these issues, or you're overweight, or you're asking me to help you,
Yeah,
and this is just how I know to help people. It's
mhm,
not you those things can be helped or even resolved by taking the toxins out of your body.
yeah.
So that's and because
I get
I
the
don't
resistance.
I just
I get
that's
the
how I feel
resistance.
about it.
Yeah, because it feels at first like, well, I don't wanna do that because it's not right? I've always done it. Whatever the case may be, we have to go through the inner work, which again, having a coach, you, me, any
Yes,
somebody that you trust really help you navigate through that can do it a lot. I think it is much easier to do when you have a guide because
100%.
a lot of stuff gets ruffled up.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah,
Oh,
when you're trying to make these huge changes with your body and your diet and your like, it feels overwhelming, it feels like a lot, and it
yeah,
doesn't have to feel overwhelming or a lot when you have some help and you have some
totally.
support and you have people you trust. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's
And then you
totally
get into the patterns and you get right? It's like you know, maybe you just need that bumper around you to really create the momentum and then you have some education, you've tested some things out, you've had support and you're able to implement. I mean, I've implemented things now on my own because I've had support along the way in a much easier fashion than I would I used to just spin my wheels for a long, long time, which is fine. Not judging myself. It's just like but I was just trying to do the same thing over and over again. It wasn't working, and I was getting frustrated.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
duh.
Yeah, I mean, we all do that. We
We
all
do.
do that.
All right, we have taken lots of time to dive into all these questions, which I absolutely love. If there's anything else you want Kelly and I to speak to on a future episode, please drop us a line, send us a message because we would love, love, love to do that. I'm going to put all of Kelly's contact information, plus mine is always there as well. So if you want to reach out to one of us for support, or you just have, you know, you're just curious and you want to talk to either one of us about what you're working on, we would love to hear from you. And until then, until next time.
Thank you.
See you on the flip side. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get all the delicious details and links we've mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. If you'd like to chat about this episode or learn more about how to work with me, come visit me in my private Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment, or check out my website, staceyandon.com, where you can find out more about my Leap of Faith coaching, my Map Makers group program, and the School of Intuitive Magic. Plus a special shout out for all the production and editing of this show by Richard Wilmore. That's it for now, love. Here's to living a life enchanted. See you soon. All information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment.
Those seeking personal medical advice should consult with a licensed physician and always seek the advice of your doctor or other qualified health provider regarding a medical condition.